Also sort of business unit and clinical objectives as to what they're actually developing towards it. As you could imagine, for an $8 billion R&D budget, right, portfolio management is very important. From an internal perspective, it allows to align on corporate business and TA or therapeutic area strategy, and also the people, product, technologies part, which is, who's on what areas, who's working on what, what area of the business, and also sort of the technologies and the operations part needed to succeed in those projects. Portfolio management is really important from an external perspective because a good, strong development organization gives the outside world a perception or confidence in your company. And finally, on a market perspective, it aligns to current and future states, right? So what that means is, how's the market doing now to what you think it's going to be in the future, and how are you going to get there with operations and operational expenses? That in itself allows you to think about what kind of growth strategies you need, whether it's inorganic growth, which are through licensing and acquisition, or organic growth, developing a product and launching it internally. So first, let's look at how extensive of a pipeline a large company has. So this is a snapshot of Pfizer's pipeline. If you look at just the top chevron models, right, they have a set of discovery projects. They have 34 trials in phase 1, 34 in phase 2, 28 in phase 3, 8 in registration, a total of 104. Then if you kind of work your way down the document, it will be listed in terms of, the therapeutic areas of interest, with a breakout of how many of those trials are in those areas. And it'll list out sort of the compound name, what kind of mechanism it goes through, what kind of indication that they're going after, and what development phase. And on the right-hand side, you have NME, right? New molecular entity. Those are basically something that's novel versus a product enhancement or a product extension, right? A marketed drug that's going after a different indication in development. And over here in Pfizer's pipeline, they go down the list. So they'll have inflammation and immunology, internal medicine, oncology, rare disease, and vaccines. And they also have sections on hospitals for anti-infectives. Another example is, say, Novartis. Novartis releases its annual R&D day, where they talk to investors about their R&D organization. So they'll split it up based on platforms that they're going after, whether it's viral gene therapy, stem progenitor cell therapy, biotherapeutics, radioligand, and they'll split out their therapeutic areas by the type of technologies. So as you can see, portfolios for pharma companies are extensive in its depth and breadth. So how big of things are we talking about, right? So the pharma market as a whole, in terms of sales, is about $1 trillion market. This is a slide put together by Evaluate Pharma. Lower left-hand side has the source of the document. And if you just look at 2022, you'll see that $827 billion, that's billion, right, is in prescription drugs, excluding of generics and orphans. You'll have 173 billion in orphan or rare disease drugs, and about 83 billion in generics. So these numbers from a global perspective are good to know in terms of how big sort of the prescription drug market is.